Okay, welcome everyone back for this afternoon and for this second session of the Blue Manager students' final presentation held as a week symposium. So of course, I'm welcoming everyone. So thank you for being on site for jury members, but also for jury members online. We also have students in the room. Thank you for being there. We have also students online. And of course, we hope that a lot of people are going to join us also from the YouTube. Do not hesitate to interact, to ask questions, to comments. We can share that also with the different presenters. So before starting our session, today we're going to talk about conservation and governance in the Med. I would like, of course, to thank first my jury members. So with us today, we have Jean-Vincent Vieux-Ingracia, so from Métropole Nice Côte d'Azur, MP manager of Nice and also president of Nature Dive. We also have Diana Kalbach from Université Côte d'Azur from the MARRES coordination, and Aldine Amiel from Université Côte d'Azur at the IFCAN lab. And also online is here with us. Also today we have Martin Colonnelli, biologist and photographer and founder of Coral Guardian. So thank you a lot for being with us today. And I'm also thanking, of course, all your viewers for the reports. I will repeat them, but so you have Jean-Vincent, you have Martin, you have also Luisa Mangalano from Université Côte d'Azur from the Lab of Ecosis, you have Marta Muntoni, PhD student at University of Auckland, Elisabeth Kunin, which is professor also at Université Côte d'Azur, and Guillaume Leport, which is from Blue Seeds. So this afternoon we'll hear 4 presentations. We will begin with Lucia, followed by Neil, and after a short break, we will continue with Laura and finish with Noémie. So without further ado, let's start with the first presentation. I'm welcoming her on stage. Lucia, welcome with us. Thank you for being here, and you can start whenever you're ready. The floor is yours. As a reminder, 15 minutes of presentation and then 15-20 minutes of questions. And without further ado, I put your slides on and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Crystal. Hello, everybody. Very good afternoon. And thanks a lot for tuning in person or remotely. And today I'm very happy to share a very, very brief overview of the past months where I spent my internship during the MARRES project. So the internship happened at the Balearic Institute for Nature, or Institut Balear de la Natura in Spanish, or during my presentation, I'm going to call this institute as IBANAT, just to make it a little bit shorter. So before I go into details, I would like to share a very brief overview about the organization and also the structure of the host organization. So IBANAT is a governmental organization that can be found in Mallorca, but actually it oversees the other 3 Balearic islands. As you can see on this figure, and as I mentioned, it's a governmental organization and belongs under the regional ministry responsible for agriculture, fisheries, and environmental policy. As I live and work in Mallorca, I followed a hybrid and part-time internship structure. So that means that I could dedicate on average 17 hours a week for the internship task and responsibilities, and it happened in a hybrid format. So sometimes I was there in person, other times I did the job remotely. And I was very lucky and happy to have one of the greatest experts of the topic, Marcial Bardolet-Richter, who is a senior technician of IBANAT and also co-founder of Mediterranean Posidonian Network. And if you haven't guessed so far what was the main topic of my internship, it was the Posidonia oceanica. So in the next slides, I'm going to talk about the 2 organizations where I was mostly doing the job. And then I also talk about the Posidonia in general, and then going in more details about the tasks where I was engaged. So the internship not exclusively happened with IBANAT, but I was really glad and lucky to be involved a little bit in the work of the Mediterranean Posidonian Network. It is an international and regional collaboration since 2019, and it is supported by very important and leading organizations who are forming a task force. And the main aim of this network is to build capacities, strengthen regulation, and also raise awareness. So the work work, what they are doing is more international. However, the work, what IBANAT is doing is a much more local focus, focusing on the Balearic Islands. So IBANAT is really the implementation body of a very important legal regime, which is called the Balearic Decree, which is an important legal enforcement tool in order to preserve and protect Posidonia oceanica. It also has a fleet of surveillance boats who are checking around 130,000 boats per year, just to make sure that they are anchoring correctly and not illegally. And importantly, they have a monitoring network supported by volunteer divers and dive centers who are checking the ecological health of the Posidonia meadows. And why Posidonia? I know many of you are familiar with this important species, but just as a refresher, I prepared some slides on this very important marine flowering plant. So as a key characteristics, I can mention that around the Balearic Islands, you can find Posidonia oceanica in a great coverage. So as you can see on the map below, you can see that all these 4 islands are basically surrounded by these meadows, adding up to almost 600 square kilometers in total, which equals to the size of Chicago. It is not just a super important plant from environmental perspectives, but it also deeply roots in the culture, history, and agricultural practices in the Balearics. So we can say that this is a very emblematic species here. It is also called as the lungs of the Mediterranean or green infrastructures because it provides many ecosystem services. It produces a lot of oxygen. It acts as a carbon sink. It stabilizes the seabed. It also protects the shores. And as you could see on this beautiful underwater video, it is a very important habitat, nursery place, shelter, and feeding grounds for many species. But as we know that as other habitats or ecosystems, it is really under pressures and threats which are coming mostly from human activities. It is really connected to the expansion of the extreme tourism and the urbanization that the islands are facing. These human activities can be infrastructure developments, laying down sea cables, anchoring the discharge of wastewater and desalination plants, but also in the area of climate change, the Posidonia meadows experience severe threats due to the arrival of invasive species and warming seawater. And these 2 maps that you can see on the slides, it clearly confirms these threats. So as you can see, for example, the one here above, there are a great extent of Posidonia meadows in the Bay of Palma in Mallorca, and all these little icons show, for example, ports, little marinas, discharge point or desalination plants. And the one above showcases the appearance of dead Posidonia parts. So you can see that it's quite a great extent. However, when it comes to monitoring, we can say that there is a high variable conservation status. Here I was comparing 2 data sets. As you can see, the first line is not saying a big scale of degradation, but if you look at the second one, it shows a much worse status of the meadows. But the literature agrees that Formentera and Menorca has meadows with the best ecological status, and Mallorca and Ibiza have very concerning levels of degradation. And And many times pictures speak much louder than some text or figures. All these pictures were taken here in the Balearics in the recent years with the most important pressures and threats that the meadows are facing, such as the anchoring, water pollution, or the arrival of invasive species. However, on the right side, the Balearics is a very leading and pioneering example in the Mediterranean on conserving and protecting these Posidonia meadows, because it follows an active governance structure. It's a very big and complex picture, but I try to summarize it into 5 key elements. So as I mentioned before, it is very important that this governmental structure is supported by 2 important legal frameworks. Then since the early 2000s, the Balearic Islands implemented more than 500 eco-mooring buoys, Posidonia surveillance services, radio channels, Posidonia phone, where people can just call and ask for information, how and where to anchor safely. We know that cartography, especially in a very good quality and high resolution, is really the base or the fundamental part of protection, and it happened along with the eco-mooring buoys that thanks to a large-scale European project, a very high-resolution Posidonia map has been created. The permanent and ongoing awareness raising and educational activities is also a very important element, not just among local people, but also among tourists, children, and companies. And last but not least, a very beautiful and nice initiative from bottom to up is the volunteer Posidonia monitoring network, supported by hundreds of volunteers who are doing the monitoring and preparing yearly reports on the ecological state of the meadows. So if I have to summarize with one sentence what the Balearic government is really aiming to do with these marine species, is to make the invisible visible with all these important activities. And now, briefly, I would like to share the results from my internship and the task where I was engaged in. So starting with the Posidonia network, apart from doing some general task, which is assisting in the meetings, doing some translation, harmonizing the database of the network, I was very glad to be part of an important fundraising activity, which what I would like to highlight in this presentation. So thanks to a collaboration with ICOMIA, which is the International Council of Marine Industry Association, they managed to secure funding from the 11th Hour Racing, an American philanthropy organization, which, as I mentioned, was successfully granted, and the work will start very soon. It is a small scale but very promising project that really wants to harmonize the Posidonia cartography in the Mediterranean and then integrate it into nautical chart, in this way providing boat owners an up-to-date and correct information on where to anchor. And of course, it will go hand in hand with important communication and awareness raising activities. And now going into more like local levels, with the work of IBANAT, I was also assisting some general tasks, which were visiting charter companies with awareness raising purposes. I also assisted in a student workshops where teenagers could learn about Posidonia. And the task what I would like to highlight was the assistant in the development of a sustainable tourism strategy called Posidonia 2030. As you know, the Balearic Island is a very important tourist hotspot in the region, and luckily the government follows a nice framework where it really wants to give back to the community, to the environment, and invest in environmental projects. So for example, last year, 65% of the income from tourism was invested in environmental activities and projects. So I was participating or assisting in the creation of this very important strategy, which was presented to the Directorate General. They really welcomed positively the strategy. However, the final decision happened a little bit later. The strategy really would like to keep the work that has been started previously, and also adding some more, for example, monitoring boards, or even reaching out to more people, more students. So hopefully with this strategy, the islands managed to drop the illegal anchoring to 5%, and they will be able to have a full island coverage when it comes to monitoring. And I still carrying out the internship, so it's not a job that has been done. But as an extra task, I really would like to create a report or like a guiding document on this active governance model that the Balearics is doing. The aim with this document is to assist some decision makers who are interested in the topic, but maybe need some more information, some more case studies, best practices. So this report is really aiming to reach to these people, and it really aims to provide an evaluation of this model, what were the limits, and what are the lessons learned, basically. So as I mentioned, there are still some job to be done. I mentioned previously the preparation of this guide document. As a second point, which is really exciting, I have the opportunity to be part of a documentary about the Posidonia conservation, which seems to be quite a long one, and the estimated time to do this will happen in September this year. And I also had a great idea, I think, or just filling the gap on doing a social survey on how to observe how people see the Posidonia and what knowledge they are having, but it still needs some discussion with the host organization. So to conclude, I would like to share some personal remarks. I encountered some challenges during these few months, which was mostly due to the part-time structure that I was doing. So that's why I missed some very great opportunities, some very good events and conferences, and sometimes some of the tasks seemed to be quite ambitious that I couldn't really fit during this time. However, I have much more highlights about these past months, both at personal and the professional level. So Posidonia is really an important topic for me, and I am very happy that I could just learn about this marine species, learn about this Balearic governmental model, and it's really great to experience this here in my own skin as I live here. It was really great to be engaged in many different kinds of projects. Sometimes it was a little bit overwhelming, but at the end of the day, I always felt that I learned a lot. And I think for the host organization, there are definitely some benefits to highlight. For example, the proposal, which was successfully granted. I also try to bring all these new ideas, new recommendations, and bring some previous experiences to the work. And I am very happy to share that that there are big discussions how this work can be continued in the future. And with Martial, we are discovering ways how we can keep working together in the future. So with that said, I really would like to thank you for your attention and listening. And I'm very happy to answer some questions.
Sorry, everyone clapping in the room. I wanted to show that.
Thank you. I heard that.
So thank you, Lucia. We are going to open, of course, the floor to questions. So maybe I can start. I will mix online on site, but I can start with you, Jean-Vincent, and I will go then to Martin, and I will finish with you.
Thank you for this presentation. How long would it take to complete the guideline?
Yes, so the plan is to prepare it by September, because I would like to share it at the next global meeting of the Posidonia network.
Okay. And did you see around the other example of guideline or the conservation plan, or to mitigate this kind of pressure on Posidonia?
Yeah, so from the region, from the Balearics, I haven't found the document what I would like to prepare. So that's why I was thinking that it would be a very important one, just detailing all these examples, what the islands are doing. And also I would like to do interviews with organizations who are doing an amazing job, and also would like to interview some governmental people who are working with the latest legal document that just came out in March. Because that's also a very important document that it's not very well communicated, in my opinion, at international levels, but it's definitely worth mentioning and following.
Okay, about that, do you have enough political support or political will to change minds or to change the pressure inside a bay or this kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. At the moment, not really, but I'm really counting on the experts and the members of the Mediterranean Posidonia Network, as they are counting more than 250 members coming from all different levels and stakeholders. And I really hope that I could have some help and push from their side.
So the plan is to have experts to be the I don't know, le relais.
To make the link?
Yeah, to make the link between political and you.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Martin, you have.
Thank you, Luca, for the presentation. I have. Can we go back on your presentation, please?
Yeah, sure.
The second slide where you talk about Posidonia. Is it possible to tell us a bit more about the O2 production? You say 14 to 20 liters per meter square per watts, and why is it important?
Yeah, so this data is actually from the Balearic Islands, so it's not the general Mediterranean data what I found. And yeah, that's what I really found in the literature, that
Okay.
thanks to the presence of these meadows in the Balearics, and due to these crystal clear waters, what we are having here, it is estimated to produce this amount of oxygens per square meters.
Per watts, per day, per hour, per, you don't know? Okay.
To be honest, I don't know.
Okay.
But definitely.
My next question, what about the temperature rising? Is there a problem with Posidonia if the water is getting hotter?
Yes, definitely. It's an emerging problem and issue. I also found data that above 27 degrees of seawater temperature, there is like a 60% drop in the growth of the leaves of the Posidonia. So it's definitely a problem, because, for example, here we are facing every year heat waves, marine heat waves, and every year we surpass even 30 degrees. So that's a big increase in seawater temperature, and it definitely impacts the growth of the leaves and also the resistance of the species.
Okay. And what about the age of Posidonia plants? Can you tell us more about how old it can get? And
Well, I heard that it might be the oldest species in the whole world. But for example, in the Balearic region, especially between Mallorca and Menorca, that are the oldest meadows. To be honest, I cannot tell you how old they are, but as there are I think 200 kilometers between the two islands, and it is really covered by these meadows, we can make a guess on how old they can get, that they could expand between these two islands, because as we know, they grow super slowly, 1 or 3 centimeters a year.
Okay, and one last question about Posidonia restoration, ecological restoration. I don't know, maybe I missed. Did you talk about? I didn't hear. And is there any possibility or not?
Yes, so what the government is really trying to do is the passive restoration. So, like taking out all, well, not all the pressures because that's impossible, but most of the pressures. But of course, there are some active restorations, but this is mostly done by NGOs on the island. For example, in the Bay of Poyensa on the north of Mallorca, there have recently been a big active restoration project going on. And it looks quite promising, but of course we need much more time to make sure that it really pays off.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. So I can go to Jana.
Okay. Thank you, Lucha, for your presentation. You talked about threats of on Posidonia. So which most common threats has this organism, and which one is the one that makes more damage to Posidonia?
Okay, so as tourism started in the 60s, we don't have too much data on the damage on the Posidonia network and when it comes to anchoring, but we know that since the 60s there was a big arrival of people also with pleasure boats. And the Balearic government really realized in the 2000s, at the beginning of 2000, that it's a very important species and some things are really need to be done. So they started with this surveillance service, which really is paying off because there are less and less threats connected to the anchoring. So I would say before the 2000s, the anchoring was most of the or the biggest threats that the meadows were facing. Since the 2000, it's really decreasing. However, the threats coming from water pollution, I would highlight it as one of the biggest ones. Thanks to the big urbanizations, the coastal developments, building of many hotels on the coastlines, also the building of desalination plants, because Mallorca is really, or not just Mallorca, the islands are really dry and don't have any rivers, don't have too many aquifers. So that's why there are many desalination plants, and still the connection between these desalination plants and the brackish water that ends up in the sea and how it can harm the meadows is still not well researched as far as I know, but the threats is really there.
Okay, and in one of your slides you show 5 points of governance.
Yes.
So in your opinion, what do you think which is the most useful or has more impact in the conservation of Posidonia?
Wow, that's a good question. It's very hard. It's very hard to choose one, but I would say the legal framework, because there is one from 2018 and there is the latest from this year, March, and it is a really complex overarching document with, of course, a strong legal power that was accepted and supported by even the Spanish king and all the governments. So I really believe that if I have to choose one, it's really hard to choose one. I would say that these have the biggest power, maybe not now at the moment, but in the long term for sure.
Okay. And last question, if I
Yeah.
still have time.
Okay. Yep. You do.
So you said, I think it was in your last slide, that due to the timing, if you were doing a part-time internship, so if you had the whole time, like a full-time internship, what would you do differently, and what would you be changing on the tasks that you have as a purpose?
Yeah, so to give a very concrete example, I would have attended a very nice conference on restoration activities on Posidonia, which happened at the early June. It was a 4 or 3 day conference with a lot of experts, with a lot of workshops, and I have the briefings of these meetings, and it seems very inspiring, and meeting with all the experts. I would have really loved to go there. And also I would have joined more the surveillance team on the boat, just to be more on the field and experience their work and see it with my own eyes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Algie, to conclude.
Oh, okay.
No, you have time. You have time.
Yeah, okay. So thanks, Luca, for this presentation. So I have a few questions. So if you have to make a list of the keyword activities regarding what you did during this internship, so what it will be?
Key work, like
keyword. I mean, if you have to list all the activity you performed during this internship, can you?
Yeah, sure. So I would say on the first place would be the writing of the proposal, which was successfully granted, because that took quite some time, and also do some research on what has been done so far, what is really needed to do, having some meetings with the other partner organization. So that would be really on the first place. The second one would be the general assistance in the work of the Mediterranean Posidonia Network, just helping with the organization, writing follow-up emails, having the meetings, and also helping with the communication, because there is a room to fill, or there is still a place to go regarding the communication. And last but not least, it would be this active governance report, what I have started, and I think I'm at, let's say, the 50% of this document, but still many parts are missing. So maybe I would say these 3 big things.
Okay, thank you so much. So in your introduction, you are talking about Posidonia Health, and that the entity you are working with are monitoring this Posidonia Health.
Yes.
How is the definition of Posidonia Health for you?
Yes, so this monitoring network go to 45 monitoring stations in the 4 islands, and they categorize them. I think they have 5 categories on the ecological health: poor, moderate, half moderate, or semi-moderate, good, and excellent status. And they really follow this structure, and they try to collect all these data collected from these 45 monitoring stations, and categorize them in these 5 categories.
What are they collecting? What are they looking at as the hallmarks of health?
So, for example, they are monitoring the shoot density, also the appearance of endemic species. For example, in English, the Pinna nobilis,
Okay.
this huge shell.
Yeah.
And also if there is any damage that they can see due to, for example, anchoring or appearance of invasive algae.
Okay, they have many 3 readouts. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Then, okay, how is the Balear Institute integrated locals in their project?
Yes, so for example, in this monitoring network, basically anybody can join who has a certain level of dives logged. Also, they have the Aula del Mar, which is an ocean classroom. It is free to go by anybody, let it be tourists or local people, and they are usually organizing educational activities for local schools. It's a beautiful classroom with a lot of ocean creatures, a big microscopes that the kids can use. And also they have many communicational materials, let it be videos shared at the airports, or as a poster, flyers that the surveillance team is using to give to the boat owners where to anchor or how to anchor.
Okay, but do you have some local people that volunteer to help you to also perform this activity? And
Yes. So, for example, in case of the monitoring network, they are mostly local people who are here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, a few more, can I? Yeah. So regarding the fundraising activity, so which strategy did you use? I mean, did you had a bunch of different strategies you want to use, but you target one because of specific local reason or person reason? Yeah, I don't know. So how did you process?
So the strategy, what
the fundraising strategy.
The fundraising strategy. This collaboration with ICOMIA is not a very new thing. So there were some discussions before, and actually it was ICOMIA who reached out to the network that they really would like to collaborate, and they discovered this funding opportunity. So it was really getting together in some meetings and discovering what is really missing and what we could do together with this amount of budget and time, and if we can call it a strategy, that was the way of working.
Okay, I have more very personal questions. So, and it will be the last one. So, beside tourism or fishing, what are the Balear people connection to the marine ecosystem and the marine world?
From my experience, they are really aware of Posidonia. Even the kids, I know this information from my work, that they are really connected to the sea. They know what Posidonia is. They recognize, and they even know it's not an algae, it's a plant. It looks like an underwater forest. However, then the knowledge maybe stops here in many cases, and they don't know in all of the cases how important it is or what threats maybe they are facing. But again, on the positive side, the local people love to go out by boats. Many of them have small or bigger boats, and they really know where they can anchor and where they cannot. So I think that's already a big win, that they recognize the importance, that they just cannot drop the anchor whenever they want, because they know that they cannot.
Okay, so do you think they are really willing to protect this environment?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. So we do have time for maybe just one last question. I don't know if Nila or someone from the audience, you have a little mic, you can grab it.
Alex.
It's one and a half questions. First one is just very fast. Is that you in the slide for the reflections? Is that you diving? Awesome. Yes. I found what you mentioned about the anchoring also quite interesting. You guys said that you were working on maps or working with cartography to kind of create new maps for Posidonia. I like to think that people aren't generally evil, that they're just ignorant, so they're anchoring in regions that's the way they don't know that this is a problem. Is this something that you guys are able to integrate into existing maps or things that actually are being already used by skippers, for example? Because I also think people are very lazy. So I don't know if they would get new maps or get new apps and download and use those things. How do you guys approach that? Are you able to know anything there?
Thanks, Alex. That's a great question. And yes, many people are very lazy and ignorant. I really heard with my own ears that many times they drop the anchor there because they want to swim there where the Posidonia is, and they don't care that it's a very protected species, but they really want to swim on that place and not 2 meters further. And how to avoid creating another app or another cartography that people have to use. The idea for this is that the new cartography will be implemented in the nautical charters by Garmin. So that's, as we know, many boat owners use Garmin, so they don't have to learn how to use a new app. They don't have to get used to something new. So the plan is really that integrated to the already existing tool.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
You wanted to? Yeah, there you go. Yeah. The final moments.
Hello, Lucia.
You go.
Yeah, just a quick question. Are there partnerships between the Med Posidonia network and other similar networks in the world working on seagrass bed? And if so, do you provide or get maybe assistance or inputs from those networks on innovations or legislation that could work?
Thanks for the question. So the network is really like a membership organization. So there are 250 or even more members coming, from academia, organizations, companies, researchers. So in my opinion, that's already a kind of network within the network. To be honest, I'm not familiar about other collaborations that happened recently that we are having now, but the plan is really to give an even more visibility to the network. It's still quite a new one since 2019, and the plan is really to grow more.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you a lot, Lucia. We will have to conclude because yes, time is on. We'll have to pass to Nila, but congrats again, and
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
You can stay around to ask questions for the next students coming in. So yeah, Nila, it's going to be your turn. I'm putting your slides on, and so yeah, as you know, 15 minutes of presentation, 20 minutes of questions. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much. So I'm going to keep you in the Mediterranean, but I'm going to take you from west to east, and the things are going to take a little bit darker turn than in the west. So I did a feasibility study in Bodrum Peninsula about Posidonia oceanica protection in Turkey, my home country, and I'm going to talk about it now. Why Posidonia matters, Lutz already told very nicely, and I'm sure that all of you in this room are already very much aware of it, but very briefly, Posidonia oceanica is an endemic seagrass species to Mediterranean. They produce immense amount of oxygen, they clear the water by trapping the particles, they provide coastal protection and help the beaches from erosion. They are also huge carbon sequestrations, nursery habitats for many, many species, and they have immense economic value. What about Bodrum? Why did I work there? So Bodrum is located in the western south part of Turkey, in the Aegean coast. You might have heard about it by its old name Halikarnassus, home for one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It's also the start point for the iconic Blue Voyage in the Turkish Riviera with its traditional wooden boats called gulets. But for me, it's quite personal because I used to spend a lot of time here in Bodrum when I was a child, and it has an emotional value for me. So when the project came up, I couldn't say no. But Bodrum is very much connected to maritime and fishing and sponge hunting. In 1960s, it was just a tiny, very poor coastal town. And around that time, in late 60s, people started to notice that it's a beautiful place. So the tourism has begun. And Bodrum became richer. But as it happens with a lot of places, this was both a blessing because they earned a lot of money, but it was also a curse. And I would like to talk about that curse a little bit. It's a very high value, high pressure place. There's huge amount of tourism. As I said, it started in the 60s and it never stopped to this day. It's getting more and more every year. There are very luxury marinas are being built. There's many different types of boats, huge boats, luxury boats, anchoring that is not regulated, and rapid coastal construction. If you look at the satellite pictures here on the right, on top you see a cape. It's just one small part of Bodrum, a cape from 20 years ago. You can see how beautiful the coast was. You can actually see the Posidonia here, and only in 20 years, the coastal construction. These are hotels. These are 2 different hotels. Completely destroyed the beach and Posidonia by, technically ripping out the Posidonia and putting what is called marble dust to give a Maldivian beach effect. And the population also expands immensely in the summertime. During winter, There's about 300,000 people living in Bodrum, and in summer it's over 1 million, which brings, of course, a lot of wastewater problems with it. And aquaculture is also quite big here. But it's also home to many key snow species, such as Mediterranean seals, caretta carettas, Pinna nobilis, and angel sharks. So we know that Posidonia is very important. We know that they exist here. What about governance? What about legislation? Is there anything to protect them? The answer is yes, luckily. There's a legal recognition. We do have CBD, 30 by 30, Barcelona Convention, SPA, BD protocols, so on and so forth. And also in Turkey, these are international, of course, legislation mechanisms. Also in Turkey, there's some sort of a protection. There are some laws that recognize the importance of Posidonia oceanica meadows. But there is a top-to-down approach in the government, meaning that everything comes from the national authority, not from local authorities. So even though the municipalities might notice that there's something wrong going on, we have to protect the sea, they still have to get some kind of approval from the national authority, which creates a very fragmented governance and very weak enforcement, as they cannot quickly take action. But why did I choose this project? So the project is grounded in a report that was published last year, Project Posidonia, by an NGO called Ecology Met. And they've documented 2,185 hectares of Posidonia oceanica meadows by drone imagery. It is huge. And following this, last month in June, Andromet team from France, the team behind Donia also, I'm sure all of you are aware, came here to do almost, we can say, ground truthing of this data from last year. I also joined them. They were here for 2 weeks, mapping like high resolution sonar mapping of the meadows. And it was quite interesting, quite amazing. So at the moment we have this beautiful maps. But what is going to happen? Yes, we do have maps. We do know that there's Posidonia. We do know that there are certain problems. What is missing? My answer to this is operational translation into protection from the map and scientific data. In my project, I tried to be intentionally limited. I didn't try to create a formal MPA that would be very, I would say, unrealistic in a place like Bodrum with a lot of stakeholders. So what I did is I visited the sites that were mentioned in the report. I made field observations, stakeholder mapping. I talked to stakeholders, and then I reviewed the management and protection options for Posidonia oceanica to create a feasibility-based roadmap for the next steps on what we can do. So my objective was really this, to develop a roadmap for a feasible, pragmatic Posidonia oceanica protection in Bodrum Peninsula. Who helped me in the project? I was the project lead, and I was very lucky to have two amazing mentors, Martin Colognoli and Frederic Willers, thanks to MARRES team. And here in Bodrum, I worked with Ecology Met, the NGO that published the report, and their founder, Mert Gökalp, who is a local marine biologist. My methodology had three pillars. I was in the field looking at the priority size, doing observations, taking notes. Then I had semi-structured interviews with the stakeholders to understand the barriers and the opportunities in protection. Then I made a synthesis to understand what are the options that we can use feasibly. So stakeholders was, I would say, the most important part of this project. Initially, I was planning to interview about 10 stakeholders, but it ended up being a lot more. And I'm really happy about that, because each conversation opened a new door. I spent a lot of time with fishers, which is something that I've never done before, with NGOs, with municipality here, with conservation experts. And I would say pretty much all of them had one thing in common. They agreed that the sea is changing in Bodrum. The sea is getting to a worse direction. But the thing is that they almost never except the scientists, they almost never thought that the reason could be Posidonia oceanica getting worse or the anchoring. Let's come to the findings. So what I found from my interviews, I divided into 3 different groups: social behavioral pressures, ecological and physical pressures, and governance pressures. I'll try to be brief here. Maybe it's a good time to give some anecdotes. For example, I've attended to amateur seafarer certification course that is technically organized by the government. And our trainer was a captain with 20 years of experience, a local captain. And he told to the class of 25 people who already has boats or going to buy boats that it's okay to anchor on Posidonia. So this was kind of shocking for me. Of course, I was in that class and I could intervene as nice as possible and talk to them. But imagine that 25 people getting this information, and there are going to be many more 25 people, or there were maybe not going forward. Another thing that was quite striking for me was that when I was talking with one of the fishers, they mentioned that last year the government released immense amount of juvenile fish to a lagoon here in Bodrum area, and to help boost the fisheries and economy, which is amazing. But the very same night, the fishers saw that illegal fishers came and they threw their net, and it was too late until the coastal guards came to the scene, which showed again the weak enforcement and fragmented authority. Which brings me to the roadmap. I've been talking about so many bad things, but of course I've done this project because I would like to give some solution, and it's my roadmap. It's my real, the main outcome of my project. So I have 5 pillars in my roadmap, starting from short term to long term. The first one is knowledge and mapping. We already have maps, right? We have beautiful maps, but it's not enough. We have to continue monitoring. We have to see what is happening under the water, what is happening, how are they changing. And also, as we know already by now, having the map is not enough. It doesn't mean that there's going to be protection, which brings me to my second pillar, awareness and communication. Here, it's, as I mentioned in my previous anecdote, that we really have to inform people on the importance of Posidonia and oceanica. If the captains continue telling that it's okay to drop a heavy metal object on this very fragile meadows, it's going to be very tough, right? So we have to start creating some awareness. Let's say that we are successful in that, and we already started doing some work, such as creating signs in the priority base. And let's say that we are now successful, the captains are aware of the situation, they still have to anchor, right? They are not going to stop boating. Which brings me to my third pillar, responsible boating and anchoring. So here what I'm offering is making pilot areas for eco-moors and bringing more eco-mooring system with time. But of course, this requires a lot of management. And as I already mentioned before, the top-to-down approach in the government makes things difficult. Which brings me to my fourth pillar, governance and co-management. I think this in co-management, I'm trying to say is that we should move from centralized system, giving power back to the locals, legally bringing stakeholders such as fishers and divers to the decision-making processes. If the locals have a saying in the game and are empowered to protect the waters, they become themselves the enforcement mechanism, because a person who is in Ankara in their office is not going to know or help or act if someone is dropping an anchor on Posidonia Meadows on a Tuesday, 3 p.m., right? So it decentralizes the management. But of course, for all of this, we need partnerships and money, which is the last pillar of my roadmap, policy and finance partnership. Talking about the financial aspects, I would like to talk a little bit about the budgeting that I've made. This is very much a preliminary budget for project developments, meaning that switching from the roadmap step to the next steps of making pilot preparation, for example. And I estimated it to be 20,000 euros about. But it's, again, this is not comprehensive financial planning. It's going to be a lot more, as you can imagine. But that is going to follow once we have the pilot sites and we can prove that this roadmap is actually useful and is working. So to conclude, I do think that it is feasible to protect the Posidonia oceanica meadows in Bodrum, in this difficult place. Well, it's not simple. It's not easy by any means. The roadmap was the first step. There wasn't anything like this done before, so I'm quite happy that I was able to create this. And implementation will hopefully start locally. I'm already working with Eco-Legacy to implement some things. The good thing is that they already validated the roadmap along with the municipality. The municipality asked from me to prepare an action plan on how we can protect Posidonia in a short term to long term, which I already started preparing. And Eco-Legacy asked me to create a management plan. So it shows that it is already validated and hopefully will continue. So I'm really hoping that next my project can be useful to this very important and fragile ecosystems that we have in Mediterranean. Thank you, and I'm ready to take questions.
Well done, Nila. Thank you for your presentation. So as you mentioned, Martin was following you, so for sure it's not going to be part of the jury right now. I will turn the question now, but he can say a little word at the end for sure. So I can open the floor this time with you, Adine.
Okay. So thank you for this really nice presentation. Yeah, I have a few questions. Within your roadmap, you decided to put policy, finance, and partnership at the end, last step. So why that? And what is the advantage and the limit of this organization?
Thank you. That's a good question. I was actually planning to do it a little bit earlier. I was between 3 and 5, never at 4, 3 and 5. But I decided to put it to the end because I found it very, very difficult to talk to the government officials here. So in my opinion, at this stage, the most important would be starting locally with the local NGOs and with the municipalities. And then only at the end, once we can actually say that, once we establish that the pilot areas are working, the roadmap is working, then at the end, we have to bring the government to the conversation, because without them, we cannot do anything really. We cannot, if we want to create an MPA eventually, and that is of course the bigger idea, even though not at this stage, but we will need them. But for now, for the pilots, to show people that it is working and we can still do something, I did put them to the end.
Okay, so then what will be the limitation to inform them at the end?
I'm not going to inform them at the end. They're already being informed. I'm talking to them. They are already in the process.
Okay, thanks. Then what are the main information currently that are missing in this specific location or this specific project for you to perform a successful conservation project?
I think information-wise, we are pretty solid. The scientific data is there. We already know. We already have the scientific data. But what is missing at the moment is that I would say number one is finance. And number two, the budget is definitely missing. And number two is I found it a little bit difficult to connect different NGOs to each other. There's some sort of, should I say, competition or unwillingness to work together, which I found very difficult. But otherwise, I do think that we have the scientific data right now.
Okay, you have to ask them to forget their ego.
Yes.
It may help. So you mentioned at one point awareness and communication in your roadmap. So what is your targeted population? Or what
everyone.
And how you will target them?
Okay, so everyone, honestly, because I talked to so many people. I think at the end, my interviews were over 20 people, and honestly, very few of them are aware of Posidonia oceanica. They do not know what is it. They think that it is dirt. I was in one group, actually, WhatsApp group for divers, and they were searching for a diver to rip the Posidonia, and they were paying them. So the information situation is this bad. Unfortunately, we are nowhere close to Balearic. So we really, really start from the basics from everywhere. And what I'm doing right now is that I'm in contact with the NGOs here, with WWF, with Eco-Legacy. With Eco-Legacy now we are making information boards to put on the priority base, telling about very simple facts, very almost like telling to children why we should not be scared of Posidonia or rip it off. And the municipality already approved this project, so that's going well.
So really last question. So what is the goal? You are mentioning at the beginning that you wanted to do some interview. So what's the goal of this interview and what you will do with the information?
I just want to, nothing like this have been done before. Nobody has been in the field and talking to the people who are actually in the sea on a daily basis. So I wanted to understand what is their understanding and what is their problems. Sometimes I felt like I was a psychologist because I really wanted to understand. They were always telling me problems, They weren't also quite sure like who I am, what I'm doing. Sometimes they were scared of me, thinking that I'm coming from the government and I'm going to give them fees. But what I think is that what I've learned in MARRES, that we cannot protect anything if we do not include the locals, the local knowledge. So
Yes.
what I wanted to understand was what they are thinking and how we can include them, really.
Okay, thank you so much. Wonderful.
Thank you, Aljin. Jana, for you.
Yes. Thank you, Nin, for the presentation. In your slide, you mentioned a lot of stakeholders. So
Yes.
for you, how, and also mentioned in the interviews that you asked, how easy, how hard was to approach them? Because in knowledge-wise, might be easier for you to approach the NGOs, etc. But talking to community or to locals, fishermen, might be in a different approach. So how positive, how negative was this approach? And which limitations did you find? Sorry, it's a lot of questions, but yeah. So
honestly, I was really scared about talking to fishers in the beginning. I do not eat fish myself, and it was kind of a challenging thing in the beginning. I was scared that they are not going to want to talk to me. I'm just this random girl who is appearing out of nowhere. But once you ask people about their problems, and once they have been never heard before, they really want to talk. So the reception was amazing. Honestly, talking with one fisher, they introduced me to the other fisher. They introduced me to the other fisher. And it was amazing. I understood that, they're not the enemy. They are really much the people that we have to be working together constantly. The most difficult stakeholder for me was the aquaculture, talking with aquaculture, because I felt like they weren't quite, how should I say, maybe they didn't want to give that much information, even though they said that they would be willing to. They really wanted to keep it very short, and they were constantly saying that, oh, we will be helping you. But I wasn't asking for any help. So it was kind of complicated. But otherwise, I would say that talking to all the other stakeholders was quite nice.
Okay. And how important do you think that is to educate the community to protect the Posidonia? Because there are sometimes that they are living with it, but they don't know the real importance of it. So
Yeah.
for you, how important do you think is?
I think it's the most important thing. As long as they don't know about it, they are not going to protect it, right? The example that I was giving from the seafarer certification. So I got the document, I got this certification. Now I'm allowed to use a boat, captain a boat that's 24 meters long after only one training, along with those 24 people. And in the training, the trainer, the captain told that you can anchor on Posidonia, that's completely fine. So I do think that we are at a point that we really have to start from the very much beginning and basics, telling people how important Posidonia is. It was the same situation with the fishers. They really didn't care about it. Many of them thought that it is just dirt, and they often mention that there are not many fish living there even, except sarpa that they acknowledge, but the other fish, the other marine organisms, they didn't acknowledge. So it's going to be very important. Same thing with my friends. I get a lot of friends visiting me. I don't live in Turkey. I just came for this project. And of course, many friends came visiting me. And I had to tell them over and over again that this is not algae. This is what I'm working with. This is very important. This is the reason you come to Bodrum for this turquoise water. If you don't have Posidonia, it's going to be, you're not going to come here again because you are not going to have this water. So very important. And unfortunately, we are very much in the beginning.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Diana. So yeah, Jean-Vincent.
Okay. Hi, thank you. It's a very big challenge in this area. So in terms of communication, which communication channels should be prioritized over others?
That's a good question, and something that I didn't quite studied or worked on. But as I said, now we started making this information boards in the base, and I think that it's going to be a good one because people go to this space to enjoy the water. But of course, what we know from Coral Guardian, for example, from Mahtan, that's a very successful project and a very successful NGO, and we know that social media has been extremely important on raising awareness. So that would be
social
probably
media.
Yes.
Okay. Well, yes, because a certain people like a certain support, like film, like photography, and other people prefer I don't know, listen or this kind of on social media. So it's I think it's a big challenge to identify which communication channel is better for them, for one or another one, etc. Another question: if you had to defend Posidonia seagrass in an interview, I don't know, what would be its most important role and why for you?
I think it would be in an interview or for me, because the answer might change. In an interview, I think I would mention the economical side more, because especially in a place like Bodrum, which is living out of blue economy, if I do not bring the economy case, it's not going to work out. Then I'm going to be just a Greenpeace girl trying to do something. If it's about me, if I'm talking to a friend, of course, it's going to be more the ecological side. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah, okay. So for an interview, it's better for this area. It's better an economic point of view.
Yes.
For you, okay. And I saw that it will take years to complete the project, many years. So if it doesn't work, what will you do?
I just want to create this roadmap, honestly, and I know that now I've got a nice positive feedback from the municipality and from the NGO, so I will continue helping them. But I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with this project forever. To be perfectly honest, I'm open to give it to other people at some point if it continues nicely. We will see.
Okay, so it's not Posidonia in your heart. For life. For life.
It is shared between corals and Posidonia.
It will work. Any step you are doing now, I mean, it's already positive for this world. So yeah.
Thank you. I hope so.
Yes.
Okay, thanks a lot. So I can open, of course, the floor to some questions if you have online or on site. Let's go ahead, for sure.
Sorry, I have a question again. In Seychelles, they had to find a word to describe the seagrass because there were one word to describe like everything that was greenish in the sea, like seaweed, seagrass, etc. And is there a specific word in Turkish to define seagrass
Yes.
that is not the same as seaweed? Maybe I missed the info, but
noodles. No, okay. I didn't tell it. They call it noodles, sea noodles.
That's a cute one.
Okay.
That's a cute one.
Alex, I know you have a question.
Of course, always have questions. During our courses, we talked quite a bit about shifting baseline theory. Is that something that because you talked to a lot of fishers, is that something you came across at all? Is it something that you considered a bit? Because I think it's, I don't know, they were talking, in our courses, they talked a lot about it with fishermen, right? Like how shifting baseline theory was something that they saw more than others. Was that something that ever came up?
Yeah, I mean, they were talking about, for example, how much fish they used to catch before. And one of the fishers was telling that 10 years ago, even, they would catch 20 kilos of fish a day. But today they count themselves super lucky if they catch 1 or 2. So they are like completely seeing that. But then the same fisher told me that he also owned a restaurant, a seafood restaurant. He also told me that when the Posidonia oceanica comes to the shore, when the banquet starts forming, they just collect them and throw them to trash because it's just dirty and the sea is cleaning itself. So they were thinking it as a dirt that sea is kind of like puking or throwing away, which was insane.
Wow. Thank you, Neil, and great job.
Thank you. I don't know if anyone, Luca,
Yeah, can I have a quick? Yeah, great job, Neil. I really love the topic and what you have done. My question is that this roadmap that you created is very Turkey specific, or you think it could be maybe used in other Mediterranean countries with some modification?
Yeah, I would say that it's not even Turkey specific. It's very much Bodrum specific. Because Bodrum is a very difficult case with the tourism and all this construction happening constantly. But I mean, yeah, I think it could be used in some other places with a lot of modification. Yeah, why not?
Thanks.
Thank you a lot. I think also I will welcome for sure, I think Martin, you're around, yes. So maybe if you want to say a few words also following Nila through all her experience.
Well, congratulations, Nila. That's it. I wouldn't ask questions or, like,
No, for sure.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Martin, for your help.
Okay, well, congrats, Nila. We can all congrats you, and thank you for your presentation. So, of course, stay around because we're going to do a short break. Okay, so welcome back for the 2 last presentations about this second session about conservation and governance in the Med. We are going to have first Laura. So welcome, Laura, on the stage. So we will have Laura and we will finish with Noemi just after. So Laura, as you know, it's going to be 15 minutes of presentation and 20 minutes of question. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Crystal. So unfortunately, today I'm not going to present a presentation in Posidonia, but I'm going to present my internship carried out within the French Biodiversity Agency, the OFB, and more specifically within the Protected Areas and Marine Issues Department. So my internship focused on resource capitalization and on contributing to the development of a future National Resource Center website, which is dedicated to protected area management document. So let's start with some context. So today we know that our planet is facing 2 connected crises. The first one is the acceleration of the climate change, and the second one is the collapse of biodiversity. So we know that species are going to extinct and ecosystems that millions of people depend on are being degraded. So protected area is one of our most powerful tools today to respond to this crisis. They help preserve habitats, support carbon storage, maintain ecosystem services. And at an international level, the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, adopted in 2022, commits signatory states to protect 30% of their land and ocean by 2030. Is that we call the 30-30 targets. And France, thanks to its national strategy for protected areas like the SNAP 2030, has aligned with its ambition to protect 30% of its territory. And in terms of numbers, what we can see is that France already covers more than 30% of its territory with protected areas. But here is the key issue, is that only 4.2% is under strict protection today. So the real challenge here is no longer about how many land and ocean we want to protect, but it's more about how well we want to protect it. So the challenge is about quality management. And what does that mean today? So managing a protected area is not just drawing boundaries on a map. It's a full cycle as a project plan, for example. You assess the context, plan, you implement actions, you monitor the results, and then you adapt your decision. And the IUCN described this cycle with 6 key elements from the context to the outcome. And this framework is the base of what we call the PAM assessment. PAM is for Protected Area Management Effectiveness. But here's the problem again, like globally, over 18,000 PAM assessments have been conducted, so this is good, but they are using a little bit less than 100 different methodologies. So this is really fragmented, and this fragmentation makes it really difficult to share knowledge, to compare the results, and more to improve the conservation practices. And unfortunately, many protected areas are still today suspected of being nothing more than paper parks. So in France, the national reference tool is the CT88. It's a guide to developing a management plan for natural areas. And it structures the management plan into 5 steps, 5 key steps that we can see here, and provide a common methodology for all type of protected area. And to support manager in using this tool effectively, the OFB coordinates the Management Document Resource Center. And its mission is to centralize the resources, to produce new contents, technical guides, to make trainings, and facilitate the knowledge sharing across the network. And this is exactly where my internship fits in. So about the internship, it was based in the OFB office in the south of France. It lasts a little bit more than 3 months, and it was within the Protected Area Management Document Resource Center. The different missions consist of the capitalization and the production of technical resources that protected area managers across France actually need. And all of this will be gathered into one website, which will be launched in October. The primary goal has to build and structure a database. It was researching, analyzing, centralizing all the existing guides, tools, management plans, but also to produce new content such as like feedback sheets or web content. And the secondary goal focused more about how to support the development of a future website by, for example, participating in testing, content integration, or all the project coordination activities. So in the short term, the deliverable was in a full database completed with all the resources ready for publication in the Swift web. And in the long term, the work is really to help improve the management quality across the entire French PA network. And to make the resource center as like the national resource hub. So what I have done these 3 months. The first part of my work is the capitalization. So I identified and analyzed and centralized like a little bit more than 200 resources, including 170 technical documents related to the always related to the planning and evaluation of management of protected areas. And to facilitate their organization and the future integration into the website, I created a structured and dedicated Airtable database. So it provides like a clear inventory of all available resources. And also, I contributed to the content production. I draft a little bit more than 15 editorial pages for the future website, but also produce like a structured summaries of existing key resources and existing also feedback sheet experience. The objective was not only to gather information, but also to transform all the technical documents into something accessible and something like an educational content that will help managers in their daily work. And the second major component of my internship was the contribution to the website. And as you can see in the screenshot here and here, I participated to the discussion on the website architecture, the navigation structure, but also how to improve the user experience into the website so they can find easily all the documents they need. So every week we tested like both the backend and front end of the website. We were validating new functionalities, reporting like technical issues, and all of this during different sprints of the project. So overall, my contribution helped to build the foundation of the resource center platform. And in the future, the website is dedicated to make it really easier for protected area managers to find resources, share experience, and improve management practices. So we have done a lot of things in 3 months, but we still have work to do. The project is still remaining under development. Resource capitalization will continue after the internship and all the life of a website, I think. Additional content still needs to be integrated into the platform and will be done, I think, this summer to be ready for the launch of the website in October. But the internship contributed to the base, to the foundation of this long-term project. So during the internship, I encountered both project-related challenges and personal learning challenges. From a project perspective, one of the main challenge was the dispersion of the resources. Because all documents which were useful, which are useful for the protected area manager, was scattered across many institutions, many people, and all websites, making the resource identification and prioritization process super time-consuming. Another challenge was that the website was still under development. Because the platform evolves every week. So we have new functionalities, new correction, new improvement, and we have to continuously test and validate all this change. And this work requires like a close collaboration with a lot of stakeholders, like the developers, the communication teams, or other resource center that will have a website as the same as we have for the future. And so all of this, it was during a phase of adapting, changing priorities, and where the project deadlines was always changing. On a personal level, I also faced several learning challenges because initially I expected to work more on marine protected areas, but the internship required me to broaden my perspective and develop knowledge about all categories of protected areas in France, like including, for example, national parks or regional natural parks, Natura 2000 sites, etc. Another challenge was to understand how a large public institution such as the OFB operates, because such a big organization involves multiple departments, governance, different governance level, a long validation process, so it makes the project implementation more complex. And finally, due to the relatively short duration of my internship and the limited availability of my supervisor, I have to work a lot in autonomy. But so it reduced a lot the opportunity of teamwork and mentoring, but it also encouraged me to take initiative, to be really proactive on this project and to make it work. So beyond the result and the challenges, the internship gave me the opportunity to reflect on both the project, but also my own professional development. So by the project, the experience reinforce the idea that creating protected areas is only the first step toward biodiversity conservation. The long-term effectiveness depends on an appropriate management with regular evaluation and to access to reliable and methodological resources, which is really important. During this internship, also, I realized how important it is for protected areas managers to have practical tools that are easy to access and adapted to their daily work and daily needs. So it is in this context that the future Resource Center website has the potential really to become a valuable platform for sharing knowledge, harmonizing the management practices, and also supporting the managers across the French protected area network. Regarding my personal experience, this internship gave me a much broader understanding of the diversity of the French protected areas and the way biodiversity policies are implemented within a public institution such as OFB. And it also helped me to clarify my professional aspiration, because while it confirmed my strong interest in biodiversity conservation, it also highlights how it is important for me to get involved more closely on projects that are connected to marine environment with operational action and collaborative teamwork. So overall, the internship confirmed that protected biodiversity is not only about conserving nature, but it's more about how we are going to support the people who manage this area, these protected areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Sorry, I didn't have the mic on.
Yes.
Thank you a lot, Laura. We were all clapping. Yes, I'm sorry. So thank you for your presentation. Of course, we will open the floor to the questions, and I can start first now with Jana.
Surprise.
Surprise.
Surprise. Hi, Laura. Thank you very much for the presentation. You mentioned some challenges you had in the project. So what did you do to mitigate those challenges at the moment that they were kind of appearing?
You mean during the internship?
Yes.
Yes, I have to find some easy solution, because I knew that I have not a lot of time of this internship. So my first thing is how I get in touch with all the people I can around me, but it's also including not only the OFB and the DAPM institution, but also I get in touch with other type of protected areas, such as some, how can we call them like a project manager of a national reserve, or another project manager of a different type of protected area. So they can help me with different, to find different solutions, to find the resources and classify them. So it was one thing of the challenges. What I can say also, it's for the learning, it was super useful. My supervisor sent me to a training, a CT88 training, and it was super useful because I got the chance to understand the methodology, of course, but also to understand what was the limitation of protected area managers and what was their challenges of their daily life. And so it helped me to understand better how to construct a website and how to make the resource available for them.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, thanks a lot. So we can go to Aldi if you want.
Yes. So thank you, Laura. I am full of questions. So my first one, no, it was super interesting. And I think it's a really great project, and it's really innovative because there is a really clear need, but there is a few aspects that we need, I think, to clarify. So for you, first, what is your definition of an MPA?
Of an MPA or a PA?
MPA. You talk about MPA.
Yes. Okay. First, MPA is a geographical limitation in the space that have a long-term conservation policy, if I can say, and with a management plan, if I can say like that, to help preserve and biodiversity.
Okay. So, but you know that in France there is so many statutes linked to MPA. Okay. So, and here in your project, you really focus on trying to group some idea to make it easier the management of MPA. But the thing is that there is a diversity of MPA already present in France. Diversity, not about the management I'm talking about, but in terms of criteria, MPA criteria. So how are you addressing this aspect in your project? And yeah, how are you addressing this aspect in your project?
Yeah, it was really a difficult point. This one, because using the CT88 tool is what the OFB has created to harmonize the management plan, not to standardize it, because we know that we have so many different protected areas type. So we try to help them, to train them with this methodology to get a structure and to answer to all type of protected areas. But yes, it needs always to be adapted, of course. It's not like fixed, something fixed. It has to be adapted, and we know that all different type of MPA needs
so then to go faster, to go much faster in the application of and the improvement of management, which other strategy can you envisage doing for this project?
What's the question again?
To go faster in the application of what you want to do, of your goal, meaning improving the management of MPA in France, which kind of strategy, now that you have all the expertise and the experience, which kind of strategy you can envisage now to really help?
Okay, first of all, the website will be a first really good help to the MPA managers. Why? Because they do not have only a strategy or methodological thing, but they have example. And that's what they want. They want example to go faster, because the main issues is finance, and it's human resources.
Yes,
they both have not a lot, and the resources that will make it available will help to get faster, and so to have not much. It will not be so much time consuming as it is for now.
Yeah.
So they want example, and they want concrete example, and
Exactly.
and knowledge sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is that I think that now we have successful example of MPA, I think, in France. Small size, big size, isolated one, non-isolated one. So now, why are you not collecting a data set for each of them, then grouping then after by size and I don't know, and all this stuff, and then after you can develop something, a guideline much more accurate for this specific different MPA. I mean, to really help the manager. And
that's exactly what the website will be for.
Because the way you present it, it's just okay. I want to do something really. We want to do something really general, but generality will never apply to MPA.
Yeah. It is general, but we gather all type of different resources by different type of protected areas, like marine, like with different issues. And so you can find resources and different example of management plan depending on the type of your protected areas, but also depending on the type of your issues, depending on your situation, on geographical situation. So you will be able to easily say, okay, I'm a marine protected areas, I go there. My main issues is, I don't know, acidification, or we have so many, but yeah. And then you will find all the resources that you will expect to see there.
Perfect, because you will not manage the same way a marine protected area that is isolated versus one where all the fishermen need it, or the local. Okay, thank you.
For sure.
So then you talk about climate change and biodiversity collapse in your introduction. Can you talk to us about the link between both, and what is the link between both?
Between climate change and collapse of biodiversity? So
yes, is there any links? And
I think so, yeah. But there is a link, yeah, of course, the climate change and all the news of recent news that we can see. The climate is changing and it's getting more hot, and then it has a really important impact on biodiversity and species, but also on forests, on animals, on everyone, and they have to evolve. And so this evolvement, we will need to evolve also our management. That's why I have this link.
Okay, so it's more about correlation than clear. Yeah. Okay, and then I already asked a lot of things. Yeah, you can go. Yeah, you can go.
If you're more. Thanks, Aldine. Yeah, let's go perhaps with Martin also, and then I will come back to Jean-Vincent. And if we have time, we can come back to you.
Great.
Thank you, Laura. Nice presentation. I have a lot of questions also. So, can you please? So it was really wide. You talk about PA, not really about MPA, but can you give me an example of one protected area, whatever, like if you can in the sea, but if it's freshwater, or like one protected area with maybe manager story, or like something you have in mind that can help us connect with the field.
To connect with the field, what do you mean by that?
I mean a concrete story of something you study during your construction of the website. I think you have different PA stories. Do you have one in mind to present?
I have MPA stories about the new management plan of MPA Iroise in Britain. It is the first MPA that have done their management plan recently, remade it, I mean. with the CT88 methodology, which was very difficult because they are the first one with this methodology to apply a management plan within the MPA. So it is really, really great because it will help a lot of other MPA to get an example and to go for it. What did she say about, her feedback about the methodology on the field was, it's really complex to apply this methodology in the real life, okay? As we said before, we have such a different type of issues, of strategy, of action plans that to follow just a methodology, a common one, is really difficult. So we have to adapt constantly. And she also said that the financial resource is really important because they have to take so much time to do this that they cannot follow up with the real action plan that is already on live. But as we know, it is not officially something mandatory, but they all know that they have to do it. They have to do this management plan with the CT88 methodology. Like it's unofficial, mandatory things to do. So yeah, they comply, but they know that it's really difficult.
Okay, and what about the control? You know, like who is the authority? Because you're talking about this website for the managers, but is it also made for I don't know, the police, who get the authority on those MPAs, and how does it work?
The authorities of MPA differ.
To control, you know, like for the control of the protected area.
You mean the follow-up of the action of?
Yeah. How do you protect it?
Then is the project manager within the MPA who will follow up the, you know, in the management plan, you will set a lot of action plan that you will have to follow after during your 5 or 10 years method of your 10 years plan that you have assessed. But then within this management plan, you have a really detailed table that will say to you, like, with this objective, with these issues, you have to make this, and this is the indicator you have to follow, and this is what we want to achieve. And so the project manager will have to go on the field and take all the figures and make a follow-up of all this action plan. And then in 5 or 10 years, we have to make it again and say, okay, what we have achieved.
Okay. Okay, so it's pretty complicated, right? Like there is a lot of. Okay. Okay. One more question, and then I give you the Jean-Vincent. I give you the mic. So we said climate change, biodiversity collapse. Is there anything else?
Oh, yes. I mean,
you said like it's mainly climate change and biodiversity collapse.
Yes, to make it a really big picture of it, but we have also land use that will have an impact on the biodiversity. The human pressure, I mean, with all our infrastructure activities that can impact also our climate.
Okay. Like water pollution, plastics.
Yeah, for example.
Okay. 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 Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. So yeah, of course, now I'm turning to the MPA manager of this. So Jean-Vincent,
through chains.
Maybe you have a few questions.
I am an MPA manager. Yeah. So this presentation was interesting for the global idea of what is what is it an MPA, what is it a protected area, but in the field is never like that. It's always a single one shot and another single one shot, etc. So for me, okay, how will this website help me in my daily work? So what resources will I find there? And can you give me some concrete example? In Nice, for example, I don't manage Natural 2000. So the CT88 is great, is good, but it's not really work for me. So what can I find in this website that can help me?
You will find some existing management plan that you can follow to guide you to find example of action plans depending on your issues. Oh, okay, this MPA has done like that. They used these indicators. Okay, good idea. Why don't I do that? You will also find some feedback sheet, which is for me really important, of another MPA with, for example, the same issues as you. And she said, okay, I did that, but it was not as good as I thought. I think I can improve it by making this and this and this. And so you can access to this. And I mean, this is gold for you. This will help you to have more information, to have a knowledge that you will not have to reach out to this MPA manager to get the info. And it's reverse of time consuming. It's just you will have more time for other things that doing this management plan.
Okay. Imagine I click on the website. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For the design, for the architecture of the website, with who do you speak to design that? Because for me, it's better to, okay, I am on the website, I have a specific juridic statute. So this is a prefectural RET. So it's a strong protection area, but a little one. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I click on maybe MPA management, then I choose a juridic statute, or I choose another thing. What's the design?
Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot show you the website, but you have this different type of entry for the resources. You have an entry with a type of your PA or MPA, but you have an entry of also resources for your different type of issues, because I mean, okay, you have a specific status, but maybe you have the same issues as another one. So why not see what the other one has done with these issues, what they have planned for actions. So you have plenty different type of access of entry for resources, depending on what you are looking for.
Okay. Yes, but don't forget that the juridic statute is the key.
Yeah.
And the politic will on site is not the budget or human resources. It's only, and the one rule is the politic will. If you have the politic will, everything is okay. And you don't have the politic will, it's dead.
Sure.
This is very important. This is the key. The key.
The main challenge.
Yeah, the key challenge to have. This is the big challenge. Okay, and another question. Did you discuss with other manager, MPA manager, or not only marine but terrestrial manager? Do you discuss with them? What is the challenge for them?
Yes. I had the chance during the CT88 training to meet a lot of different type of PA managers. It was super interesting, and what I said before is like, yeah, they have a lot of challenges, and the first one is how to make this management plan work, reliable, and not time consuming, not budget consuming. And so the training that the OFB made for them is really important. It's like 4 days, and it's helping them like so much to understand and to go forward on the project.
Okay, and to conclude.
Yeah.
But it's just a question, but ask. For the future, for the website, please send me the website before and test it with all the MPA manager or PA manager.
Yeah.
Because it's very important for us to test that, to test all the resources if it's very okay for me, because for me I don't care about Natura 2000, because all it's allowed, but for me in my juridic statute is not the case, so it is completely different.
But you can reach out the resource center department. Okay. Yeah, I can send you his email. He will be delighted.
More work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. I don't know if we have more questions coming from the audience now. I can open the floor. Yeah, of course, Alex, take the mic.
Also, very great presentation, Laura. I think with technical, I mean, I was also working on a kind of technical tool or a technical solution. So where I looked a lot at other things that were already existing, I tried to use case studies that I saw to kind of build knowledge around it. You said you guys also looked at a lot of different aspects of what could be implemented in this website. Was there something that really stood out to you where you guys were like, oh my God, this is fantastic, this is such a cool resource? Or was there another tool where you guys were thinking, this is a bit of competition maybe? Is there anything that you remember or stands out to you as something that you thought was?
No, it was really difficult to find resources that will be implemented in the website and to not go everywhere for protected areas matters, we have to focus only on the management part of the protected areas. So it was really difficult to make the the difference. Okay, this is good for the website and this is not. But also another challenge is that this is the first public website for resource center. Other resource center website exists today, but they are not like public one. So we have a .gov.fr, and so it was really challenging because you have to follow up a lot of audits, a lot of information that you have to do like this, like that. And no, there is not like one document I was like, oh my God, this is the one. No. With the 200 words, I was like, okay, I got 200. That is quite enough to start. And important, I wanted to find resources that really MPA or PA managers will be really happy to get and to say, okay, my God, I was looking for this one for so long. Okay, now I can use it. That was what I wanted.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if someone else had a little question, no? Yeah? I already had Algin after. We'll conclude on Algin.
So well done, Laura. It looks super interesting. And I have a question, maybe more on like a personal side, that having this experience learning much more about the MPAs, the tools and stuff, do you still see yourself working one day maybe with MPAs, or maybe you change your mind just on future plans?
Honestly, I don't want to follow this path of the, it's too political for me. I want more to be in the action and not in the passive way. But it's kind of an action because I find resources to help them. But I think it was too short to understand everything that I can do with this, because I think it will be really nice to finally see the result. And unfortunately, I cannot. But yeah, say, okay, to see like MPA managers or PA managers say, okay, it really gets some help. But yeah, no, I would prefer to go more on the PA side than the OFB side.
I see. Cool.
Okay. Well, thanks, Laura, and well done. So yeah, we will.
Thank you.
If I may just
Ah,
advise,
yes, sorry.
it's not a question. Sorry, it's not a question, but I think if I may give you an advice, on your website, you really need to implement a forum. You need you need to make the connection between all the manager of all the MPA in France. So
We talked about
they
that.
can chat with each other. That's super important.
It's more complicated to do it on the website because, you know, a forum, a community on the website is really complex to manage. But what it exists already is they have project meetings, like regularly, like monthly project meetings with different type of protected areas managers. And they all form a group and they discuss a lot of things.
That's perfect.
But yeah.
Yeah, another advice is maybe look at the Doris site. You know Doris, the site with all the species, the marine species.
Yeah.
Because every naturalist or every diver can have an account, a profile, a personal profile, and with access of a forum in the forum. And we can post about photography, about species, etc. So this is
it's a good one.
what we want.
Exactly. But the purpose of the website, it's also to be a hub. So it's a good thing to,
Yeah, it's Doris, the site.
Doris, yeah, I found it. Yeah.
It's a very good example to have a personal profile with an access. Because I have a personal profile, I have access to a forum, and so I can discuss with the other person.
Yeah, that's the point.
The other people inside.
Okay. Great. Okay. I will follow the info. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Laura. Well done.
Thank you.
So now it's time to have the floor for Noémie. So finishing with the last presentation of the day. So I'm going to add your slides, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone. So my topic was on imagining Greek-Turkish cooperation for marine conservation in the Aegean. And I will start to tell a bit where this topic came from, actually, why I chose this topic. It's both a kind of personal and professional interest. I've been based in Turkey for many years. I am originally, or I used to be an historian of the late Ottoman Empire and modern Turkey. I am currently working in an NGO in the area of peace, memory, human rights. And I have noticed that both in academia and in peace studies, environmental issues and marine conservation in particular were kind of neglected. So I wanted to try to articulate these different dimensions. And so the conceptual framework of this study is both theoretically, but also policy-wise, how we can articulate these different ideas. For instance, the UNDP Sustainable Development Goals, life underwater, and peace, justice, and strong institutions, but here with an emphasis on peace. And for these studies, I tried to bridge theory and practice and to imagine, to discuss different forms of cooperation with different stakeholders in the Aegean. Just a few elements of background. What are we mentioning when we are dealing with the Aegean Sea? It's, as you know, a sea between Turkey and Greece. And it has witnessed for several decades what is called the Aegean dispute, which is a cluster of disputes between Greece and Turkey over marine boundaries, over possible EEZ. There is no currently EEZ in this area, acknowledged by both sides. So we are dealing with half of the Aegean theoretically and legally in ICs. But obviously, this has also to do with economic interest extractions. I am not going into the details, but here I would like to focus on a new chapter in this dispute, and this is marine spatial planning and marine protected area. And I just would like to mention the last developments which occurred last year. So last year in July, Greece declared 2 new marine ports in the Ionian Sea and the Aegean Sea. And the Aegean Sea, it's a very large zone in the South Aegean, covering 8,000 square kilometers, and bringing together different Natura 2000 zones, but also adding new areas. It was justified by environmental priorities, but Turkey understood it as a claim on sovereignty on these areas. It had very strong reactions by the Foreign Affairs Ministry, and as a result, just 1 month later, Turkey published a revised MSP map with 2 new MPAs, one in the northern Aegean, close to Gökçeada, and the other one on the South Aegean. And this obviously triggered other reactions on the Greek sides. This is an ongoing issue nowadays. So I had 3 main objectives with this study. The first one was to provide a critical analysis of the increasing geopolitical tensions over MSP and MPAs in the Aegean. The second one was more practical and more policy-oriented, that is assessing possible cooperation models between stakeholders from Greece and Turkey to enhance marine conservation in the Aegean Sea. And the third one was to identify possible stakeholders for willing to engage in pilot models of cooperation in the region. Some words about my methods. Actually, I had 2 main legs in this study. The first one was desk-based research, and I tried to get as much interdisciplinary as I could. So work on environmental pressures and conservation policies in the Aegean, both academic literature, but also NGO reports. Works on the Aegean disputes on law and geopolitics, including media monitoring in the last months. And the third aspect was the literature on transboundary cooperation for conservation and marine conservation in particular. The second leg of this research was more about fieldwork and about interviews, qualitative interviews. So I conducted 16 semi-structured interviews, partly in person, partly online, with NGOs and academics from Greece for 4 of them, and Turkey for 9 of them, and also with responsibles from MedPan and Together for the Med. And the idea there was to understand their main areas of work, to understand their priorities, but mainly actually their perspective on cooperation, the needs for cooperation, the obstacles to our cooperations, and their possible ideas in this area. Now, the first main finding is that there are very strong barriers to cooperation, and it may seem kind of counterintuitive to start with the obstacles, but actually all my stakeholders started with mentioning obstacles. They said it was sensitive, they said it was dangerous, or they just didn't want to talk about the topic. And the main reason for this is first, the geopolitical tensions and legal uncertainty. And unfortunately, the last months coincided with an escalation of tension, with Turkey voicing new kind of claims over the Aegean through this theory, which is called the blue homeland. So the idea that Turkey should be a sovereign over marine areas in this region. And then Greece in parallel concluded a new agreement with Cyprus and Israel, a new defense agreement, which was also the source of new tensions. The second reason is that actually both NGOs and academia are currently under political and social pressure, and this is mainly valid for Turkey. This was also mentioned by a lot of stakeholders. Their maps, their publications are controlled. They need research authorizations from the central state when they want to conduct research on the sea, and collaborations with the Greek side are not well perceived. It's easier on the Greek side, but then they mentioned the fact that there is some social pressure, that is, the public opinion is likely to react negatively if there is some publicity made to this cooperation, so they may prefer not to engage and not to take this risk. And then last but not least, financial constraints on research and organization. There is not enough staff to do the current job, so this is seen as something not really a priority. Now, the second finding, which is kind of contradictory, is that actually all the stakeholders agree that there is a shared need for cooperation. And this is first of all and mainly because there are shared threats. We are talking about the same sea, which is exposed to the same pressures and threats: climate change, overfishing, invasive species, and mass tourism, also plastic pollution. So there are very similar threats, and these NGOs have similar areas of work on both sides. The second common point is that there are few MPAs in the region. They are weakly enforced, so around 3% of effective MPAs in Greece. In Turkey, MPAs cover 6% of the waters, so there is clearly a weakness in protections. And the third one is that there is a lack of policy harmonization, and this is particularly true for the fishery cases. As you can see on the figure here, there is only a partial overlap on fishing bans of closed seasons between Greece and Turkey. There is also only a partial overlap on protected species or on regulations on nets and size of boats. So this is also a strong issue. So the problem is not a problem of awareness. This is not a problem of scientific evidence for cooperation. This is well known by all the actors, but this awareness and this knowledge, evidence, scientific evidence is not enough to call for cooperation and to overcome the obstacles I mentioned. So what I did during this research, I also wanted to reflect on different cooperation models, and here you can see them from the least feasible to the most feasible with a question mark. The first one, which actually was my initial idea, was the idea of transboundary MPAs, this idea of marine parks, peace parks, which was developed actually for the marine Mediterranean as some potential in the 2000s, but which really did not have a lot of outcome. And for most of the actors, this is not realistic because the issue is territorial, the issue is about sovereignty, and this area-based forms of protection is very, very sensitive. The second one is about joint advocacy and research, and here I am thinking of more bilateral forms of cooperations. And here too, because of state pressures, because of public opinion reluctance, this is very difficult. Third one, the project-based approach here. This idea is that, as I said, there are very strong financial constraints, and actually many stakeholders mentioned that they were not really willing to engage in cooperation, but if there were some financial incentives, then they could think about this. And then the last two, which I think are the ones which have the most potentials. The first one is multilateral cooperation, and it exists, the Mediterranean networks, which I mentioned, also different forms of EU-supported project, thinking at the Mediterranean scale, engaging in multilateral cooperation is a form to bring people together or organizations together while avoiding to leaving them face to face. And the last one, which I found actually the most interesting, this idea of community-driven cooperation. We are talking a lot of community engagement, about local knowledge, and this is an important trend both in Greece and in Turkey. And this idea of actually bringing different local experiences, different local actors, for example, several times stakeholders mentioned women fishers cooperative, as who would be eager to think a bit outside of the box, or who are a bit outside of this power relations. So thinking from the local to the regional. Coming to the impacts, I would say that I conceive this research as both academics and policy-oriented or practice-oriented. So academically, I've started to work on an academic article which tried to summarize these thoughts on the relations between marine conservation, geopolitics, peace and conflict in the Aegean, and I hope to finalize it in the next months. The second one, which actually we did last week, we organized an online seminar with the Archipelagos Institute in Samos to discuss the Gokova MPA case with one of the former managers of this MPA, with Fonda Kirk. And these collaborations actually may evolve into something bigger, a workshop we are thinking to organize in the island of Funi, west of Samos, because there is a new protected area, a neutral zone, which has been declared in 2025, so to protect coralligenous habitats. And the Archipelagos Institute, which is at the origin of this project, is now looking for models of governance, but mostly models of community engagement. So we had this idea of bringing together stakeholders who have experience in this kind of protected areas, and all kind of actors, academics, civil society organization, but also fishers, maybe tourism actors as well, and to have these discussions on the island. This is ongoing. Hopefully it will have some positive outcome. In conclusion, I would say two main conclusions, actually. That's first one is that transboundary cooperation for marine conservation is definitely an expanding field. It's an expanding field in academia, but also if you look at the new EU Pact for the Mediterranean, if you look at the BBNG, if you look at other agreements and discussions, I think that at the international global level, it's an expanding field. However, it is confronting strong implementation challenges. The second thing is that I think it's important to think this idea of bringing together peace and marine conservations at the local level, at the micro level. And I think that civil society approaches or NGO approaches are particularly relevant in the context of frozen conflicts. And I would just end with an open question. Can marine conservation be both science-led, community-based, and politically informed at the same time? Obviously, the two first elements are very central in literature and discussions about marine conservations and protected areas. The third one, community dimensions, is already political, obviously, but I am thinking also of other political dimensions, working in non-democratic environments, adopting conflict-sensitive approaches, and also thinking more broadly on these new concepts of peace ecology, and see how we can articulate this different dimension. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Noemi, for this presentation. I will, of course, open the floor to questions. For the last time of the day, Martin, if you want to start.
Okay, thank you, Noemi.
Thank you.
So my first question is there any other situation like this in the world to compare it to?
Many. You mean situations of conflict or situations of cooperation?
Conflict and cooperation for marine protected areas, or, like preserving the sea.
Yes, sure. So this idea of transboundary cooperation, I mean, the example which is the best known in the Mediterranean is Pelagos, but then you don't have conflict. However, there have been some attempts, mainly in the 2000s, actually, to bridge the two areas. There was a project which started in 2000, I think, between Israel and Jordan, around Aqaba, to build a marine protected area for peace, but it was aborted, unsurprisingly. There was also a plan around Korea, which didn't work either. So there are many transboundary marine protected areas in non-conflictual. There is an increasing literature on the potential of transboundary marine areas for peace, but in practice, no. And it's very much different from the case of terrestrial conservations. For instance, you have a lot of cases in Africa. I mean, this idea actually stemmed from terrestrial conservations. You have a lot of national parks for peace in different regions. But in the case of marine conservation, it's still kind of a discussion in the making.
Okay. So there is no success yet in those kind of situations.
No.
Okay. And my second question is, you said that you interviewed local people? Did you interview local communities or fishermen or?
No, for this stage, because I tried to, this is kind of an ongoing work. So I worked 3 months and I was also working full time at my organization. So I tried to start with kind of priority stakeholders who because I thought they may have already thought about these ideas. I mean, this was one of the reasons. Actually, it was not the case, so I would maybe have better started with fishers. So I started with NGOs and academics mainly as kind of maybe more aware actors, but definitely in the next stages, I would like to talk with fishers. If we can do this workshop in Foni, this will be one of the elements associating the local populations and fishers. And the other thing that I have not done is the other end, policymakers, which is also on my agenda because this is another aspect of the questions.
Okay, and do they talk to each other? Like, is there, you know, like local communities or even politics, how do they communicate and what? Yeah.
You mean local communities, including NGOs or academics, or more
everybody,
common people?
everybody,
okay.
like what?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult question because actually, as you know, there is no open conflict because recent Turkey and actually in the last years, tourism has increased a lot. So a lot of Turks actually prefer to spend their holidays in Greek islands because it's cheaper. And in general, there are many common cultural features. So there is a kind of, mutual understanding. However, when it comes to the issues of borders, when it comes to these issues of Aegean control, it's very sensitive. And many people, they didn't want to talk about it. I mean, not coming even to talking together. They didn't want to address the topic because they didn't trust me first, but they thought it was difficult. So that's why this multilateral approach is easier because many of them said they don't want to stay face-to-face, one-to-one.
Okay.
They can think about it in a pool where there will be people from Spain, from Italy, from other countries, but they don't want to be confronted directly to this because then they are afraid that they will have to address sensitive issues.
Okay. So you said that. So I was reading tension, pressure, constraints in the first slide. Then you said that it's not about awareness and it's not about science. So what is it about?
It's about politics. It's about politics.
Yeah,
as
it's not deeper than just politics. You said that you are a historian. Like, is there something, I don't know, to be really honest, like it's just about politics, something.
I mean, I don't think there is, history is not political, but anyway, I think it's kind of, there are many dimensions that I discuss it more in details in the thesis. There are kind of institutional dimensions. And I said, for instance, in Turkey, both civil society and academic research is under very strict control from the state. So thinking out of the box, being critical, or engaging in this kind of cooperation, this is understood as taking a risk to personal or to your position, or these kind of things. Second, I think that there is, on the Greek side, for instance, this idea that this is, this would be good if it happened, but we have so many things to do on the ground. And, most of these actors, particularly the NGOs, are working on specific MPAs or on specific local areas, and they are giving priorities to engagement with the local communities there and then with the state or the policymakers. And they are already kind of overwhelmed by the amount of things, conducting research, monitoring, engaging with local communities, engaging with the state, that the next step, I mean, if someone were coming and giving them resources or things like this, it could be done. So I think there are both ideological, political dimensions, but also very kind of practical financial constraints.
Okay. Thank you, Noemi.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. So now I turn to the on-site jury. Jean-Vincent, you want to continue?
Okay, my turn. Hi, thank you for this presentation. Maybe I missed the information, but why did you choose this topic specifically?
Yeah, I tried to explain it in the introduction, but maybe it's not. It was not clear. So, as I said, I am based in Istanbul. I have been working 15 years, I think, in academia as an historian of the Ottoman Empire and the Aegean region. So I am aware of the historical backgrounds of these issues. But in the last 5 years, I am working in an NGO on peace issues in particular. And one thing we are trying to do is actually to address peace, not something which is done by policymakers only, but which is something about cooperations between different kind of civil actors, civil society actors, or local communities. So we are working at the intersection, for instance, between peace and gender, or between peace and culture. And I think that something which is missing, which I felt was missing, is this articulations between peace and environmental issues and conservation. So this was my starting point. I am based here. I know Greek, I know Turkish. I have connections also, and I wanted to explore this more in details after the formation we got with MARRES.
Okay, and can you work directly with one government as a diplomat, for example?
Me? No, no, not really. Actually, I am more positioned in Turkey as both a critical academics and some part of the civil society. I've been kind of criminalized for this, so I am not really in this perspective. However, and this was, by the way, some obstacle in my research because it's easy to Google me and to find things about me. But anyway, I think that my perspective and what I'm trying to do, both in my current position, but with this research, which I will try to continue, is rather to address these issues from the point of view of the micro point of view and the point of view of the local. So building coalitions, building cooperations with local actors from both sides, as I did, for instance, previously with Armenian, with different countries. So this is something I have experience with, but not in the environmental fields. And this is something now we are trying to build with the Archipelagos Institute in Samos around this project around the Furni Islands to involve local communities on both sides around Gokova area, fishers, MPA managers, academics, local actors, to bring together and work on this kind of peace from below approach.
Okay. And so right now you work in an NGO? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you want to continue with this NGO, or you want to create your NGO to, I don't know, develop this project?
Okay, very good question. Actually, this was also one of the question mark I started with. Is doing this kind of work possible from my present NGOs? I mean, theoretically, it is possible because, as I say, I mean, I am the director of the program, and I can build a new program around peace and environment or marine conservation. However, practically, clearly it's not, because on the Turkish side, we are identified as human rights activists, or with positions not really together with the state. And this, for instance, for this research, it resulted in several actors who didn't want to talk to me, for instance, because they thought I was not. So for the future, I have actually I have applied for a policy fellowship. I am waiting for the answers. So if it works, I will be working during 1 year about this project with a research budget, and to organize also some workshops in Istanbul. And I will use this as a kind of reflection time to think whether I want to continue it as a kind of second interest area, or I want to shift to creating a new initiative. But for this, I think that it's really necessary to find the right actors, the right stakeholders on both sides. I have identified some potential people interested, but it's still very early.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jane, you were not.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no,
want
it's
to continue.
Yeah, no,
We will finish with that.
Noemi, thank you so much for this presentation, and I just want to first congratulations to you for picking up such topics. It's the first time ever that I saw that in the US, and honestly, there is a need clearly, but it's really really complex project, and you handle this project really well. So today, which kind of cooperation do you think you can start with?
I think the last one which I mentioned, the last model which I mentioned, which actually we have already started, as I mentioned. I mean, last week we organized the first online meeting about the topic, and starting with the Archipelagos Institute, actually, the main reason is that I have connections with the island of Samos, but also it was, I think, one of the only stakeholders I talked to which actually suggest themselves this idea. It didn't come from me. They had this idea of, we want to engage local communities, and we can build some kind of dialogue from below or between local communities. So this is definitely something I will be following. We are thinking of applying for funding for this meeting in October. That said, the last time I went there 2 weeks ago, they were saying that tensions continue to escalate between Turkey and Greece, so maybe let's invite new partners from different countries, and that's why I would say 4 and 5 together, using also the multilateral options, because even the most open stakeholders to the questions, now in the current context, particularly in the last months, they are reluctant, they are afraid.
Yeah, and okay, it's great to know that there is this willingness from the side of to start with. And okay, you were at the beginning, you were talking about this percentage of MPA in Greece and percentage of MPA in Turkish, and then you are comparing this number. But are they really comparable regarding the different? I mean, the different geography, the different size of the country, different interaction they have with the other country, and what they are doing also there. I mean, they link with the marine world and so on. So are they really comparable?
It's difficult to compare it because particularly in terms of management and efficiency, there is a lack of data, particularly on the Turkish side. In the Greek side, there is, for this last year, this We See You initiatives, which is working on MPAs and management effectiveness about Greek and MPAs. So I think that on the Greek side, we have kind of better ideas. On the Greek side, by the way, with these 2 new parks, the Greek will be reaching the 30% objective if these new parks are implemented. And now the NGOs are working a lot in cooperation with the government too, because they have not been designated yet, and there are a lot of uncertainties about their scope. And so this is a big topic. On the Turkish side, as this is still a very small of designated area. However, as you mentioned, I mean, in Turkey, there is not only the Aegean, there is the Mediterranean, there is the Black Sea, not any one MPA on the Black Sea region. So this is a big empty areas. I think that so far it was not a priority for Turkey, very obviously. I mean, there was a lot of things about the sea, but rather in terms of extractions or military control. But now I would say that because environmental protection is seen as part of advancing your claims on the seas, it's gaining momentum. So there is this new project. But I would say that on both sides, which is probably comparable, is the weakness of management and weakness of resources allocated by the state. I mean, this is mentioned by all stakeholders. The state is designating, but it's not investing in these areas. So we can compare this kind of management models, governance, but obviously we are talking with different geographies and different scopes as well.
Okay. You are a historian, so from the past, do you know any successful cooperation between these 2 countries regarding the marine world at a marine resource level management or marine area management?
Not directly. I mean, there are projects that have been conducted on different aspects. For instance, the monk seals. But there were always Mediterranean projects. Now ongoing on Posidonia, for instance. There are academic collaborations, again, as part of bigger project. There was a project led recently by an academic in Lesbos Islands, which was about environmental conservation and effectiveness in the Mediterranean. But bilateral cooperation, even when you are thinking of organizations such as WWF or Greenpeace, which both have branches in both countries. For instance, WWF, they have never collaborated. When they are collaborating, it's over the WWF Mediterranean branch, and it's never directly. And it's not something which is fortuitous. It's not possible, they are saying. So it's difficult because you don't have examples to kind of, based.
Okay, but I mean, historically, these are countries that cooperate since, correct me if I'm wrong, since year and year regarding a certain economy, exchange of resources and so on, and regarding to the marine diversity also. So how, or do you think that this economical link may help at one point to develop some cooperation for the marine protection?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, there have been some stages or some times in history, even in the recent periods, where there were kind of more friendly relations. There was the Athens Declarations in 2023, where there was a framework which was designed for cooperation on economic exchanges, tourism. There has been a visa agreement, visa on the gate, which is applied to the Eastern Mediterranean Greek islands, so you can go there without a visa. And the economic dimensions, I think that, I mean, it has been addressed mostly in the 2000s, I mean, after the earthquake and where there were some Turkey's EU accession process, so there were negotiations. However, now I would say that the economic question, and particularly the issues of resources, gas and hydrocarbon indices, is a very huge part of the discussions. I mean, this is not only about political sovereignty. This is about extractions, and this is about also the passage of tubes and maritime transportations. And this is why now the easy questions, the way that maybe you have seen in the map that I showed before, the new MSP map of Turkey is actually establishing a median delimitation in the area, in the Aegean. So that would be that half of the Aegean belong to Turkey, and the other half to Greece if you are going to establish easy. So I think that for the moment, the present moment, economic dimensions, and it was already the case when this Aegean dispute started actually in the 1970s, is a big part of the topic.
Okay, but this tube, this pipe you are talking about, is it between, sorry, I didn't get it. Is it between country?
Yeah, there is also this from the Middle East, Cyprus, Greece. There is the issues of the Hellenic Trench, which is on the south of Crete, and with drilling activities about hydrocarbon. And so far, both countries have been reluctant to engage of this because Turkey has clearly said that this would be a casus belli if Greece engaged in this. So that's why it's so kind of tense.
I thought that it was just a pipe that... Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you very much for your question.
So Jana. Thank you, Noemi. Very interesting presentation and project, of course. So in your discussion, you talk about these 5 cooperation models. And do you think the order that you have works for each MPA, or it depends on the countries as we talk about this conflict? So yeah, your opinion.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on the countries. I mean, as I said, the reason, for instance, of the MPA model, transboundary MPA model, or marine parks for peace is so difficult to think about in Turkey and Greece is this because the essence of the conflict is territorial, and it's precisely this sovereignty over areas. However, I think that, for instance, there is an interesting example between Australia and Papuasia, the Torres Agreement, which is an agreement of cooperation, particularly on fisheries, between the two countries. So this would be the second, actually, legs in my table, which is not seen very likely in the Turkish-Greek context, but I think it works in other contexts, and it's, I think, a way of cooperation which should be a potential. Just something else about area-based forms of cooperations. I think that the BBNG also opened a new horizon for this. But the problem is that, for instance, Turkey ratified the BBNG, but with an amendment or reservations at the end saying that it wouldn't apply within the 2,200 miles distance. So it's not, it's part of the BBNG, but it was careful to stay away from its implementation, possible implementation in the Aegean.
Okay, perfect. And talking about like globally on overall all your project, what was the most difficult challenges you faced?
I think the most difficult challenges, I mean, as someone living in Turkey and working for many, many years with different stakeholders and people, I thought it would be easier actually to do interviews and talk to stakeholders in Turkey than in Greece, but actually it was the contrary because, as I said, I mean, I couldn't present myself as a MARRES student, so people were aware of the person I am, and I didn't try to hide it as well because I'm not ashamed of it. But I think that it creates some kind of fear, lack of trust, so people were reluctant to talk. Sometimes they were even aggressive. And this also made me think about, I mean, I'm not going to enter this field, at least in this way or through existing organizations, because anyway, I wouldn't find my place very easily. So I think this was a challenging, but both kind of thing I take from this research. I mean, this was a learning outcome, I would say. I mean, I understood better this field. It's not at all like other civil society fields in Turkey, who are more in a kind of independence or resistance. Is different. There are different relationships with the state, and you need to understand them first and then to navigate them, I would say.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Noemi. I have hands rising. So yeah, of course, I open the floor to people also online, on site. It's really nice. So yeah, go Lapo.
Thank you, Noemi. Super interesting. Similar question to Martin on whether there are cases similar to this one, but you answered more from a cooperation and peace perspective, a positive perspective, let's say. I was interested in knowing if you have examples in the opposite sense. So, like, I don't know, cases in which MPAs have been used as a tool for defending a bit borders, like a bit like Greece did, to reaffirm their sovereignty on a specific marine area. This is the perspective of the Turkish government, but I was thinking about it because there's many cases in which this theory of using MPAs for aims that are not necessarily those of conservation could be used. I'm thinking, I don't know, about Philippines or many cases in the Pacific where countries could use it for defending their marine areas against, for example, illegal fishing and things like that. So yeah, did you have examples? And in case not, do you think about other areas where this could be strategic, let's say, or happen in future?
I don't have specific examples related to MPAs. However, examples related to marine resources or fisheries, yes, there are in West Sahara, in Cyprus, together. I mean, the questions of marine resources, gas, hydrocarbon in marine areas is very, very sensitive now, for instance, around Cyprus, between Cyprus and Turkey, as I said, the West and Sahara. So I think it's really something which is raising issues. However, I didn't encounter directly these issues of MPAs as a source of conflict. I don't know, maybe I missed them, but this is not something I really encountered.
Thank you.
Thank
Hello,
you.
Noemi. I also have a question. I don't know if it's relevant, but do you think it's possible and will it make sense to treat separately the water column and the seabed, like to avoid all the oil and gas questions and, for example, to focus on fisheries? It could create an incentive to, if you have only Turkey and Greece that have sovereignty on those resources, to avoid other countries to fish on those areas now, and it could create a first step for cooperation, but not sure if it's relevant.
Actually, this is something I thought at the beginning because I didn't mention it, but the continental shelf is another part of the Aegean, another aspect of the Aegean dispute, so they don't agree where it starts or which shelf belong to which country, so it's a huge problem, and economic dimensions, related economic dimensions are also very important. However, when I try to mention these issues of fisheries, actually Turkey is also a partner to the common fisheries policy for the Mediterranean. Yet it's not an EU country, so it is not subject to regulations. And I thought this should be an area where collaborations would be easier, also because this is one of the rare areas where academics have been working together about the lack of harmonization. So there is, I think, a particular awareness between different stakeholders. It's also a very kind of security or problem because there are very frequently incidents with fisher from both sides which infringe the borders and things like this. So I think it potentially would be an important area. However, particularly on the Turkish side, there was this idea that, and I think unfortunately that we don't want to align with the EU framework because the EU doesn't want us, so we don't want to make this step towards it. We want our own policy in this area. This is a state discourse, but actors, different stakeholders were actually voicing it in pretty much similar ways. So unfortunately, this too is not easy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have Neil, and after I have Joas.
Okay, thank you so much, Naomi. It was so nice to listen to your presentation. I've known your work since the beginning, more or less. We have been always in contact, and I know how much they try to discourage you from both sides, especially in this side. So I just wanted to say big respect. Thank you for making this work. I think it's going to lead to something nice. And I also wanted to share that when we were doing the sonar work with Andromed, we noticed that in the border with Greek and Turkey border had a lot better quality Posidonia, which is something maybe you could also, a data you could also use in the project later on. But yeah, mine was more like a remark and a thank you for taking such a big thing.
Thank you very much, Neil. I am always optimistic despite all, or rather I think that even micro steps are matters. That's how I would formulate it. So I don't expect big changes. However, I think that things are possible to do at the local levels if you put efforts on it.
Okay. Well, thanks, Nila, also. So, Alex.
Thank you.
Hey, no, everyone. Again, fantastic. I had pretty much the same question as Lapo, so now I had to kind of make it a bit different. But Lapo also mentions we've seen this kind of conflict of creating MPAs to kind of eliminate sovereignty and these kind of things. And fantastic, right? For nature. Wow, we have more MPAs. Can you outline why that logic doesn't make sense? Why is it bad for nature? Why is it bad for people?
To make MPAs. Sorry, I didn't understand the last piece.
Theoretically, we could make the conflict worse between Turkey and Greece, and then they would create more MPAs, and that would be fantastic for nature. But that's, of course, faulty thinking. Could you outline just briefly why that's wrong and kind of from a perspective of people and nature?
Well, actually, the disaster model of cooperation was something which was mentioned by some of my stakeholders. I didn't include it in the 5 models, but some of them thought that really to trigger cooperations, there needs to be a really worse situations. So, meaning, for instance, oil spill or, something, disease which kill a lot of species, something really, really big which will impact tourism, which will impact, and then people would be kind of forced to cooperate. This is not really an answer to your question, but I think there are this kind of thinking that you need to, maybe you just need to have no choice to make this step forward, which is a bit sad. More related to your question, I think that the situation is already not really good. I mean, in the Aegean, as Neil mentioned, as many of you mentioned, particularly in the Eastern Aegean, these tourism pressures, the invasive species. I also need to say that the Aegean is one of the faster warming parts of the Mediterranean, has been in these last years, and this has huge consequences in terms of biodiversities, in terms of very quick rise of invasive species. A few years ago, we were talking about invasive species in the southern Aegean. Now they are spotted also in the North Aegean. This is just an example. So plastic pollution, huge issues on both sides as well. So I think that the worst scenario is actually not far. So there are already this kind of incentives with or without cooperation, but I think that, yeah, I mean, this should be something that maybe at the governmental level should be better assessed and should better balance geopolitical or sovereignty concerns, because at the end, it will obviously impact also geopolitics.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Noemi, and let me know when you're hiring.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again, Noemi, and well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.
So that's a wrap for today. So thanks again for all of you. Well done to all of you, Lucia, Nila, Laura, and Noemi. Of course, for the one watching online, stay tuned, because tomorrow is going to be another busy day, because we're going to have 2 Blue Manager sessions. And so we're going to start the first one at 9 a.m. With a session on data for decision making, and we will then wrap up the Blue Manager presentation of the symposium in the afternoon with a session on strategy and finance for the ocean. So thanks again. Of course, thank you to my jury members, also to Martin online, to Aldine, Jean-Vincent, Diana for being on site with us. So thanks, and see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.